Okay, again, I say this is the Metaphysical Group Zoom for July 26, 2021. The topic, supernatural phenomena. And we had a list of topics that would be orbs, spiritual apparitions, angels or spirit guides, communicating with nature spirits, ESP, and shamanic power animals. So we'll just see what we get through and go from there. So orbs, what does anybody know about orbs? Not a bunch?
No.
Okay. Well, I just happened to create a PowerPoint to help out on that. So let me grab it. Come on. Okay, as we get hypnotized by this beautiful floating orb, I'm going to go into a couple, how would you say, personal experiences with the phenomena, because that's how I find that we learn the most and we can understand the most. But first I want to say one type, and you've probably heard about, is when they take photography in sacred sites, that these circular, white, and different colored lights show up. And that happened in Mount Shasta about 2016 at nighttime when we'd been up by Bunny Flats. And then at night, we was just checking in and couldn't really see them with the eyes, but the camera could really pick them up. And you've probably seen that a lot. And so that was one, but I could not find the pictures of them to share with you. So, and if anybody wants to share what they've experienced like that, let me know. So we'll go on to the next one. Is, okay, this I'm going to show you a series of 3 pictures that were taken in daylight. So this was in Kennewick, Washington, 2014. And someone outside the classroom took these pictures. And I was teaching inside a class on angelic Merkaba sacred geometry. And so the student outside was coming in and she noticed this orb, and so she took the picture. And I call this the curious orb because I'm teaching in the building down to the left. So the next one, notice where it is right now, and look now where it went to. And so, you know, some people say, oh, it's, you know, especially at night, it's dust that's been illuminated with the flash or something to do with the flash, but this was in broad daylight. So it's like that other reasoning does not fit. And I say that that middle window is where I was setting and teaching a class. So here's the next one. The orb was basically looking in the window. I mean, the positioning of it. So it's like, you know, just started up there, went down there, and went over there. So does anybody have any intuitive hits or anything to say about this phenomenon? I feel it was a spiritual being that was coming to maybe just participate, to watch, to observe. And I had never seen nothing like this that had shown up. So that's one thing. And yeah, Wanda?
I've gotten pictures that I've taken, you know, there's, you know, like an orb, but they've never been that that solid. It's like you could see through, you could see something there, but it was, you could see through it. And
Mhm.
I've never seen one that solid before. That's amazing.
You know, and you notice that the person that was taking it was basically standing still, because you see the car and the building in the same frame. So there's no way it was something with the light, because she stood still, and so the lighting would have nothing to do with it. It would have been strictly a phenomena of, I think, a spiritual, energetic being taking this form that was just coming to observe the class, because it was about Ascension and angelic Merkaba. So that was awesome. So that's one of my cool ones I found.
Did the person see it? Bev,
What?
did the person taking the photos see that at the time or just afterwards?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember. It's been 2014, so I don't know. I don't know. And that's interesting you brought up about if they remember that, because another picture I tried to find, I couldn't find it, was in Washington State. We're up on a very spiritual mountain. And as we're there, we all noticed a big eagle flying around us, you know, or over us. And so I took some pictures of it, and it looked like just a regular eagle. And so when I got back to the house and I was looking at the pictures, the eagle did not show up. Instead, it was a huge red ball that was solid. And it was much bigger than the one you see here. I mean, it was really big, say maybe at least a basketball size at least. And I've met one other person that has taken a picture, and they have met or took a picture, and it was a big red ball also. And we both think, because we were feeling extraterrestrial energy when we were on that mountain. And that other person that had the other picture, she said she felt ET energy also. So that, you know, it's another instance of a spiritual being taking on a form. But that the red ball, in fact, I noticed had like a shadow to it also, where you could see like something shining on the red part and then seeing a shadow part. So it really took on a real physicality to it. So that was another interesting phenomenon that. Okay, so next is a little different than orbs. Or, okay, first this, that they can be balls of energy in high vibration areas, or any areas, but it seems in their high vibration areas, or spiritual beings like angels, and especially fairies. A lot of times in angelic or fairy groves, that nature spirits will show up as the small, tiny orbs, and they can be also spirit guides. And some people like to take them as ghosts. You know, the ghost hunters on the TV, they try to photograph them, and they show up as the orbs, white orbs.
Say, Deb,
Yeah.
just add into what you experienced that my niece had when she was like 3 and 4 years old. She would talk about at night when she'd be in bed and the window would be open, you know, like in the day, you know, like in the summer or something, she'd see all these little balls of light, flashes of balls of light coming in, all different colors into her room, floating around. So I think that's similar. Like they were little, she described them as little tiny balls, and they were probably fairies is what we figured they were.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's amazing that you know, they're coming to the other side's coming to say hi.
Mhm.
And this is a little different. You might have heard me talk about this before. In Mount Shasta in 2019, I was sent there to do some grid work there. And you see, this is a dash from the car driving ahead. I did not see that pillar of light physically with my eyes, but later checking the camera, that's what the camera saw. So that's one. And look at that one.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's right at Mount Shasta, and this going to there. And interesting, before on the way from Medford to Shasta, I was a passenger. And as soon as I saw Shasta, I was taken up, it left my body and went to Mount Shasta. And I saw a vertical pillar of light going into Shasta. So evidently that was created. And then later my camera was able to pick that up. So that was kind of a neat phenomena. Something different, not an orb, but another phenomena.
There's some little orbs up to the left of it, or is that just natural?
That could be, I don't know. I don't know. It could be reflection of on the windshield. I'm not sure. I'd have to compare that with the other ones, but that and this was taken in a whole series, like of photography, like really fast, a whole bunch of, I held my finger down, and it was in all of them as we're moving. So the car will be in a different position, yet that pillar is there and it's getting closer to the mountain. So that was a pretty cool phenomenon. So that's sort of it for orbs and my little show on that. So one other thing I'd like to share that happened recently in the last few weeks was a friend of mine in South Dakota. We were on the phone, and this was at night, and we were talking and on our cell phones, and at the exact same time, the phones basically lost connection with the other person, and all we saw was this huge flash of brilliant white light, I mean blinding light, come from the phone, just like whoosh. And I'm just thinking, whoa, what was that? And I was thinking, did the person hang up on me? But what was that light? And that's what the friend said on the other end too. And then so it just lasted for a second. And then so we called back later and we did not know what happened. And then a couple hours later, that person went into one room and there was a huge flash of that white light again that filled her whole room coming through the window. And so we thought that was probably an ET phenomena. And I've heard a lot about the ET light will come through the window. So any comments about that potential phenomena? We had something like that happen. Oh, Claudia?
Yeah, Deb, excuse me. So you're saying that the light went from the phone through the window? Is that what you're saying? And then did the same thing on the other end?
No, the phone thing was a separate incident where the two phones in each state at the same instant lost connection, and then that huge light came through the phone. After we hung up, hours later, she was by herself, and in the room, this huge light came in through the window and instantly just filled the room with this brilliant white light and then disappeared.
Yeah, that probably was an ET phenomenon. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Kind of trippy. It's like, I was like, hey, you didn't take me for a ride, darn it. You're going to come bug me. I want to go for a ride. So, all right. The next, spirit apparitions or ghosts. Any ghost stories? I know Wanda knows nothing about ghosts.
Well, Deb and I've had some. Would Claudia, why don't you talk? Tell about yours.
Oh, you still got your hand up, Claudia?
Yep, let me take it down now.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in a haunted house. And fortunately, as a teenager, it was kind of unnerving for me, but so I didn't see her at all. Her name was Mrs. Whitlock. That's why we decided she was the lady that lived in the house before we bought it. It was an old farmhouse in the 70s. And, but other people saw her come through walls, show up on the roof of the house, show up in the lawn chairs. I had my former husband he sawed through a skill saw cord roofing my parents' home and was getting electrocuted up there. And Mrs. Whitlock showed up while he was up on the roof being bounced around by the electricity. So she came to try to help him. But, we just kind of worshiped and honored her being in the house. And after my parents divorced when I was 30, you know, she went away for a while, but different things would happen from time to time. And my dad sold the house a few years ago, and I had asked him, was she still around? But I think she had kind of split toward the end. But yeah, she was always there, you know, footsteps, banging doors. You could hear her washing dishes. So she'd be on a loop sometimes with repetitive behaviors and all kinds of stuff. So that was my experience growing up.
Cool.
Well, I could share that one of the first experiences I had with, I would say, really seeing somebody passed over, obviously, was on a golf course with my husband. we were getting ready to tee off, but while we were waiting, there was I suddenly saw this group of about 4 or 5 girls, about 4 is what I remember, in a circle holding hands, kind of doing that ring around, you know, like how they do. And the girls had long dresses on, kind of like turn of the century kind of looking, not fancy, but poor. And I was looking at them going like, well, where are you from? I know what's going on. And they said, oh, pointed to this little house that was over behind the golf hole, you know, and it was an little old brick building, little brick house. And I said, oh, and they said it was a school. That was our school. And I had to then golf, and I didn't know what else to ask them. I was thinking, well, are you okay? You know, is one of you all right? You know, one of them sort of indicated being sick. You know, maybe the image of being sick came up. And I wasn't sure whether the girl had died or what, but then we had to golf. When we ended up getting back to the clubhouse, I asked about that little house, and they said, oh, that's a real old schoolhouse. So that was kind of interesting. That was one of the first things I'd seen like that. You know, that was different. Other things too, but that was the first one. I thought it was kind of interesting. I didn't know much about how to ask. That was before I knew Deb. Could have asked more. I didn't know.
Wanda, what was your best one?
My best one?
Yeah,
I've
nicest
never
one.
ever-
Nice too, not scary.
Nicest one. I don't know. When growing up and then raising our daughters, we mostly had malevolent ones came in and did bad things. And I'm still trying to get over that, you know, but I don't know, I have had so many experiences, them coming to me. I didn't know I was an empath, that I could send them to the light. And I feel these energies coming in. That was actually one of the, like a Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters type movie that finally made me click what was going on. It's like they were coming to me because they could see my light and I could help them go to the light. And there's just been so many. I can't think of anyone, but I think probably the most one that impacted me the most. It was early in the morning. I was doing my Pilates, and next thing I know, I felt like I was being watched, and I just laid down on the floor and concentrated, and what came to me was 3 Native American chiefs, and they're all, you know, like this with their full regalia on. And I said, can I help you? They said, no, just go about what you're doing, and then when you're finished, we would like to go to the light. And it's like, wow, that was just, I felt honored that they came to me to go to the light. And I think that's probably the one that sticks in my mind the most. So, but I have had and still do get the naughty ones that come in and give bruises and scratches and headaches and such like that. I would love to have met the woman you're talking about, Claudia. She sounded like a sweet person.
Yeah, I think she was compared to what you've gone through.
Yeah, as I think a lot of my family's health problems probably stem from all of the malevolent entities that found us and just kind of stuck with us until we could figure out how to get rid of them. But I think the one that did the most damage to my husband and I and our daughters, I think that person left, and I think it was that person left after my dad passed away, and I think it was my dad who actually forced that entity out of our home and leave us alone. So I'm grateful for my dad for that one. It was a nasty one. I actually would feel molested in my sleep, and yeah, it was not nice. A lot of horrible nightmares and just things like that. So when the nice ones come along, it's special.
And that's another topic that we can discuss at some time is, and we've talked about in the past, is protection, of your light, raising your vibration, so less of that occurs. And the more we basically own our God self and really decree and have a higher light, and call in our spirit helpers or protectors, like, angels, archangels, or spirit guides, that we can interface with these other realities more easily, safely, and choose which level that we want to work with, the lower vibrations or the higher vibrations, and also depending on our soul mission of what we want to do. And it's like I say, the spirits can read our energy signature, our vibration, and it depends on what your mission is. For example, the work that we've been doing is with the galactic beings of light. That's another aspect of spirit apparitions, because they appear, and it's interesting. You can see them a lot. Some people say they can really see them, tangibly. But I find that I can see it more as my inner third eye. Is I can be looking at a chair, and if I would physically, it wouldn't be the same as a 3D human would be sitting there, but it's close to it. You can see it, but say, somebody else looking may not see it. So it depends on your vibrational level of what, you have the ability to tap into these other dimensions. And that, that's another thing is what dimensions are these spirits in? Like if you go to the cemetery, that's one dimension. Or if you start working with galactics and archangels, then you're working with, higher dimensions. And so it's a lot to have your discernment and understanding and intent of, if you want to be around them or do light work with them, that you can make that intent of what vibration that you want to work with. And so that's what I find is very important. And I would just be curious if anybody else has been able to see more of a physical, tangible versus the more third eye. Because, like, for instance, that it's real. Like, say, when me, Pat, and Wanda got together, and we're in the session and raised the vibration. And one time a time traveler being came in and sat in one of the chairs between all of us. And it's like we all could see that being. And we knew, like, the intuition knew it was a time traveler. Or when ETs will come in, or Thoth, it's, we like know who it is and can see it with the inner way of seeing. So does anybody, how would they explain how they observe them? Is it more like tangible, 3D, or is it sort of that inner vision where you know and you can sort of see an outline or have an intuition that they're there?
Claudia?
Yeah, I like the way you said that, Starwalker, because I think that's how mine mostly is kind of an inner vision, third eye thing. Excuse me. And yeah, it just seems like you just kind of see them at your forehead level, but you're not seeing them completely with your eyes. I've had an episode some months back where I was kind of in the twilight state in bed, and it was almost like in the space up in my head, and I don't know that it was a third eye thing, but it was just like up in the space. I could see the guy, he was an ET. I could see him walk in the door of my bedroom. He entered and I'm like, hello, what can I do for you? And I can't deal with this right now. Goodbye. And that was it. But sometimes I've felt like I've seen things standing outside the house or at the neighbor's house. But like you say, it's more of a third eye thing. It's like you almost can see the outline and you're like, what? Did I just see that? So it's kind of happening in your head as opposed to real vision. So I would agree with you on that.
I kind of think that, personally, I think that our regular eyes will only see physical beings. I mean, what we're talking about is interdimensional, another dimension. So it has to be more of an internal eye thing or internal seeing. I don't know how it could be very tangible and still be like in another dimension. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think about that? But I think that's why we pretty much all of our experiences are like they're there. You can see them, sometimes more or less detailed, but they're not physical. You know, your eyes aren't seeing them. That's why
Right.
I don't think it can be any other way.
I think it's a good terminology for this is a interdimensional overlay. So they're in a different dimension, and it is being overlaid into your current dimension. And so also is that vision aspect, because you notice whether your eyes are open or closed, you can still see the spirit. So that shows that, yeah, you don't need the physical eyes, and that it's more that internal and it's on a vibration on an energetic level. But, you know, I like the words, it's interdimensional overlay that is happening. But also things go into different levels that you can go up to another notch where it can become more tangible. For example, in the, I don't know, it was a month and a half ago or something, 2 months, that we had a gathering and in real person. And during it, we was calling forth the higher galactic beings. And when we were there, like in meditation, I had my eyes closed, and I felt an ET spirit standing right beside me. And then it said to hold out my left palm on the side of the chair. And so I did. And then I felt and energetically saw that being take its hand and put it in my hand. And I could feel, like you'd say, halfway between an energy and halfway between a physical. I could tangibly, in a deeper essence, feel that being touch me. So it was another step rather than just pure energy and vibration, but going more into a closer tangible realm. Has anybody ever had an experience where they've physically felt a spirit or an angel or a spirit guide?
I have. This is Claudia. Can you guys hear me? Because my screen's all screwed up. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
When I was in college, so it was 78, I was a freshman, and one night I had the top bunk. And one night, you jump up into bed and, your feet kind of kick out, you're young and you're just kind of shooting up there. And I was barefoot and my foot kicked and hit the eye of something that was standing next to the bed. And at first I thought I had kicked my roommate in the face. because I like my big toe connected with their eyeball. And in like a split second, I realized nobody was standing there and that I had connected with some entity. And I about at that point had a heart attack because I could physically tangibly feel their eye socket, feel that my toe had jammed it. And it was a very bizarre experience that I've fortunately never had again. And it kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there's a lot of things out there that are present a lot, like you say, kind of in overlays alongside us that we're not even aware of. Yeah.
Great, great.
That's very close to this dimension. You know what I mean? Those you're talking about, like that very shade above this dimension, because there are so many that can be. Wanda, haven't you had like very physical things happen with yours? You talked about
Yeah, bad
scratches and
ones, though.
everything.
Oh yes, I've been touched. The first time I've actually remember feeling it was like in the early 80s. I was just laying in bed. I couldn't sleep, and I felt like a hand on my leg, and it's like I looked, and I could feel the warmth too. And my husband was sleeping next to me, and there was enough light in the room. I could see there was no one standing there or there, but I could feel that like a hand on my leg and the warmth of it. And it's like, okay, I wasn't afraid. Normally I'd be screaming my head off, or waking my husband up. And it's like, I felt peace and calm. So I don't know if it was definitely a benevolent. It wasn't one of the bad ones that I've experienced. And that happened again about 5 or 6 years later. Again, I was just lying in bed and just, so I wasn't in that dream state or anything like that. I was fully awake. And I felt it again, actually in the same spot, the same manner. It's like that. I could feel that pressure of a hand, around my leg. And it's like, all I could think of was someone telling me that things are going to be okay and just letting me know that they're watching out after me. But my daughter has had an experience that we were on a picnic last year, and she saw this little head pop out from a building and go like that. And what it was is a little girl who had died. I don't know if it was the late 1800s, early 1900s, but the little girl, she beckoned my daughter to her, and my daughter said that it was like seeing an apparition. She could see through her, but she could see, that there was a little girl there with long pigtails and blonde hair and an old pinafore dress. And so my daughter went up to her and asked her if she could help her. And she said she was afraid, and she knew that my daughter could see her because she was watching us. She could see that my daughter saw her, and she was afraid. And so my daughter took her to the light and told her to go find her family in the light. I opened a portal to the light and stuff. And the girl asked my daughter to walk her to the spot. And my daughter said it felt like a hand in her hand. And she was just really amazed. And she said she could feel the girl's fear. And when the little girl looked into the light, she could feel the girl's excitement because she saw her family. But she said she could feel that there was something of substance in her hand. And it's like, I'm watching this. I didn't see the girl, but I could tell there was like an energy next to her, because I could see how you can see energy sometimes, there's like little ripples of whether it's heat or something. I could see that. And so I knew something was there, but I didn't know it was going on until after my daughter came back and told me what had gone on. So that was,
That's cool.
yeah.
Some people have experiences with pets that have passed on. They like feel them jump on their bed, make the little indentation, feel their little bodies again against them and stuff. So that also is very tangible, kind of just that little bit over the, those are sweet.
You know, another thing is working with, you know, the nature spirits, the spirits of the, you know, the fairies, gnomes, or just even the spirits of the mountains or sacred sites. And does anybody want to share any experiences about, you know, the nature spirits or just nature and the energy that comes from that, or spirit guides or something? And anybody else want to share?
I have a really cool one if no one else wants to share. Anyone? I feel like I'm monopolizing. Well, when I came back from, I don't know if I told you guys this maybe last time, you might have heard this. When I came back from Arizona to Ohio this summer, about a month ago, we had, I stopped in gas station and went to the bathroom and was coming back, and all of a sudden I feel this pulling, you know, when you know, like a pulling of energy. So I looked to the right and there were all these staffs there, wooden staffs. And Deb had told me about wooden staffs and how all of a sudden one will call out to you if you're supposed to have one. So I went over to the staffs, and there was this one that there were a number that several that looked very much alike, but this one just popped out, right? It was like, oh my gosh, the energy was great. So I took it and bought it, got in the car, and I was driving, okay? Because Joe was next to me and I was driving, and right away, this little nature spirit, like I call her my sprite, comes and jumps on my shoulder and then puts her little arms around me like this. And she's given me so much love. It's like she was so, oh, you know, happy, loving. It was amazing. And I'm sitting here trying to drive, right? And talk to her at the same time, you know, like, okay, you know, you can stay here. It's okay. You're safe, this and that. And finally I said, well, you want to go back to the staff? You know, finally she went back to the staff, you know, and then, so she's still been around. She wanted pink. When I got back, I said, where do I put you? You know, what do you want to do? And this beautiful pink color came up. So I said, you want to be on pink? So I had one pink blouse, and that pink blouse is where she's been sitting. So it's interesting how they can be very closely tangible, even the little nature spirits. And that's what she was. Very pretty little thing. Wispy.
You know, and that brings up sort of the topic of going into the working with shamanically, working in that realm, which is a whole nother subject, huge subject, is that working with sacred staffs, because I was gifted with one back in like 2005. I started working with it, and then with Native American elders sort of taught me how to work with them. And it's amazing is that you physically have this object. It's sort of like crystals in a way too. It's a phenomenon of where you feel their spirit, you feel the energy. And like when you work with crystals using your intent and, you know, and the energy, that you can do it with these objects. And like, you know, probably if you have a high drum, you notice you feel a deep connection to that, or a rattle. And, you know, it's sort of a, then in between a pure spirit thing than something that is tangible. So there's many levels to all of this work, or, you know, this phenomena. And so, yeah, that's a whole nother thing about staffs. And I'm thinking of offering a shamanic staff, sacred staff class coming up this fall. We'll see how that goes. But, you know, the other topic of power animals, you know, how power animals shamanically they're also sort of in between a pure spirit that's in a different dimension, and also something that's so tangible, because when you do a journey or you start working with these power animals, you can feel when they merge with you. And you can feel like if, you know, bear would merge you feel the massiveness. One time I merged and my whole arm just became this huge paw with claws and massive hair and muscles. It was a bear paw. And that happens a lot when you do working with, shamanic power animals, that you take on the essence. That's what Native Americans or indigenous beings have done for eons, is they get empowered with the spirit of the power animal. And so they are, again, it's another interdimensional overlay that is spiritually beneficial for, spiritual learning or healing or energy work like that. Does anybody want to share any experiences with power animals? Steve, do you have something on that you want to share?
No, I came late to this. The power animals and everything you're saying, and what Pat was saying about that you're always really working through thin veils of the third eye vision, or your interdimensional overlay is actually an overlay of multiple veils, veils, and those veils can be so ethereal, and then they can also come and touch your hand. Recently, I've been working with two hawks right outside my window the last 2 days that were soaking wet, and they're and when feathers get wet, and then you cannot fly correctly. You can glide a little bit, but you can't fly. And I've had working with them and just getting closer and closer. I've had eye contact with them and stuff, and I see them looking me in the eye. I don't really get stories like Pat and you all have, and I don't have the stories. I should ask them more questions, I suspect, but I'm just with nature, interconnecting with nature all the time on the Sonoran Desert.
Anybody else want to share regarding like power animals or nature spirit connections?
Well, I never knew much about power animals over time, in the past. But this about 12, 13 years ago, maybe, I went to, the first time I went to Sedona, it was at least 12, 13 years ago. And I was sitting for my first meditation to sit down, and when Diane went off on a workshop, and I sat down to meditate, and then suddenly this vision of this big bear face came up. I was like, whoa, I don't see that sort of thing in my meditation, huge bear face, and it was very engaging and very powerful. And I had no idea. I thought, oh, I think someone's mentioned power animals years ago. I heard something. So I went out in Sedona after that, and I was looking around to different shops and asking them about stuff like that. So sometimes one will just come to you, and you don't even know why. It's like, there it is. But it was interesting, the symbology of what it often represents. And it became a companion after that. You have to talk to it and ask it sometimes. And that's something I'm still learning more to do than I don't know enough about it yet. So still learning about that, but kind of watch for images that might pop up like that, and then just follow it, I guess. I didn't know to follow it more, but it's something to do, because I think that'll be a great session if you can do that, Deb, because then we could learn more about what to do with, what to look for, be aware of, and go from there with that stuff. I
Yeah.
need it.
Yeah. And taking it even another step with power animals is when you shamanically merge with a power animal and it's become your helper, that it goes into another dimension where it's able to physically manipulate and work with real animals, say ravens. When a raven became my power animal, I could spiritually see it, it can merge energetically. And then in the physical world, ravens would be sent to me. I was visiting somebody, and all of a sudden I heard the cawing of the ravens, and it's like, oh, my raven buddies. And there must have been 20 ravens that came and were flying around the top of the house. And the owner of the place goes, that has never happened before. And that happens a lot when, you start seeing it. If you have a deer spirit as your power animal, perhaps you see a lot of deer, or hawks, that type of thing. And, it's a matter of opening up your intuition on many levels. Besides your inner sight, there's inner hearing. You start getting messages from them that they'll talk to you. Raven will have a conversation telepathically. And so that's what's neat is, you're honing your skills of the telepathic communication through these power animals. Plus, I find that that's probably 99% of the communication with other like galactic beings, angels. It's all, you get it through this inner hearing, but it's so real that what you get, you go, well, my brain didn't come up with that. There's no way, and it's like, wow, you really appreciate being able to interact with them besides visually through hearing. And then you can get to where the dimensions and veils are thinner and can get to like tangible stuff too. Or when, like, say, your power animal will appear a lot in nature. Has anybody had a lot of their animals they really resonate with appear in nature that is special? You shook your head, look, Claudia.
Yeah, excuse me, hawks and dragonflies. I always thought dragonfly was my totem, but we were raised with a real reverence for hawks, and so the hawks, yeah. And my brother, he does a lot of talking to animals like you're talking about. He told a story about, I don't know, he changed some birdhouse or did something, and this bird was, he had to sit and talk to it because it was really upset for some reason as to something he'd done with the bird feeder or whatever. And the little guy told him what the deal was, and so he said, okay, I'll take care of it. And he's got a gift for that, talking to animals. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
I belong to a group that gets together once a year, and it's called Medicine Women. And so we've done meditation on our power animals. And so they tend to change it a little bit. The last time mine was an eagle, and unfortunately the eagles around here love loons. And so I'm not always happy with my power animal because it takes care of the baby loons. I mean, that's one of their feedings. So it's like you're kind of back and forth with sometimes your power animals, but that was a good experience for me. I just don't spend enough time in meditation on letting that power animal continue to speak, but I will do more.
Yeah. I personally find shamanism, it opens up a whole nother reality. That's why they call it non-ordinary reality. That to me is so much more real and important than the physical 3D reality of, what they call civilized society is like, oh, I think differently. I'd rather live with the power animals, the spirit realm, that to me is more of, they get it more. They understand on the much higher levels than, most 3D humans are able to. And so, opening up to the spiritual phenomena on levels that we can accelerate through raising our vibration, really practicing communication, simply as just going out in your yard and telepathically talking with the birds, and just starting noticing it happens. And taking it even to another step, that you start telepathically communing with clouds. That's why they have cloud busters, where notice certain shapes that you just know that there's intelligence coming from that cloud, and then communicating with, like, say, mountaintops that are very sacred, powerful spiritual reservoirs of information and energy that, you start connecting with, and it's amazing. You come up, you have new friends, they teach you, it's taken supernatural phenomena to a whole different reality, when you're able to exercise the connection with these powerful dimensional states, these other consciousnesses that are alive, that really know a lot, where, we start to see that consciousness is in everything. Rocks will talk to you. People who work with crystals, they talk to you. You're directed to which ones to get. So it's a matter of just increasing your awareness and practicing, and giving gratitude to them, and it just happens more and more. And what has been happening, with the consciousness raising, and what a lot of people calling ascension, that I definitely see a correlation between the evolution of consciousness through this ascension process, that it is opening up our abilities for having greater ESP or intuition, telepathic abilities. It's becoming much easier. And, some of the things that you would have to go for training with, like remote viewing or astral traveling, that you can just start doing it. You don't need to be trained. You just put your intent and ask for your spirit helpers, and it just starts happening, and it's becoming more and more frequent. Is anybody noticing that it's easier to do that?
And the synchronicity of everything you're saying. I work with this book. Can you see the title there?
Yep, the medicine
Oh,
card.
yeah, good one.
And
Good one.
everybody's used that book, and that has a lot of, you can pull your card and it can be contrary, but you pull a card and then go out for a nature walk, and you will connect with any of, if you have a question or your intent. And that's what you're saying, is just to, most of it involves just even when it was pouring down rain, and taking your shoes and your flip-flops and getting in the arroyo and feeling the water and the sand of the old ocean bed right against your feet. You can't get that kind of, you have to get outside and do it to have those experiences.
Nice. As this session has been developing, I can see such a huge topic that I think we may discuss for this coming fall or winter, of maybe having a workshop, hours, more than 1 hour, and just really probably hone in and touch on all these things we've been touching on, but start to get our skill level about these more keen, so we can be more open to it and experience it more, because I see it's a huge topic. It puts life into a whole different realm when you start talking to the rocks, the trees, the little birdies as they go by, the mountains, the ghosts that they happen to come through your house, whatever. It's makes you wonder what ordinary 3D people, they must be so bored compared to, if they only knew that this huge, wonderful realm exists. So, any final thoughts from anybody?
Yes, Claudia.
I have a quick question. I was out walking in the desert behind my house with my 9-year-old grandson this weekend. Has anybody seen track that looks like this? I cut it off because I got to go back and see if I can find it. I didn't take a picture. 4, 6, 5, 6 inches, like 3 claws together. I've been looking on the internet, and I was like, what could make this? Could somebody have had a staff with nails in it? I've been racking my brains, but I saw 3 of these, and I just wonder if anybody's seen anything. I mean, I've kind of got some feelings I'm coming up with, but I'm not going to say what they are. But anybody?
You're saying you only have 3 tracks like that? 3?
Yeah, it was like 1, and then maybe another one here, and then another one. And I've got to go back and really think, because I had a 9-year-old, so it was kind of chaotic. But I looked down, and we were looking at and I was talking to him about animal sign, and I saw like what looked like bobcat tracks, and I'm like, oh, look at the fingernails. And then I became upon this. I'm like, what is this, man? And they were long. I mean, longer than my index finger. And I think we were either 3 or 4, and they were, I realized they were like claw marks, but I couldn't see any indentation like you would see at the base, the pad of the foot. And I was reading that cats retract their claws, and sometimes you don't see the full claw in the sand, and that bear, their claws don't retract, but this doesn't look like bear. You would have seen an imprint at the heel. So I know there's
The
some
only
people
thing
that-
I would say to look up is, I don't know how to say the word correctly, but Codamundi. And you go and type in track of a Codamundi.
Okay, I know what that is.
Okay, that would be my only suggestion.
Thank you very much. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
trippy.
Claudia, was it actually an imprint or like a scratch?
You know, it seemed more like an imprint than a scratch. It was
Okay.
equal depth. And the length of it is what kind of, I hate to say supernatural. I mean, like, could this be supernatural? It's like, there's got to be a reason, and, so yeah, I'm going to keep looking and look for the non-supernatural first. But who knows? So yeah, it was trippy, real trippy. I'll look up Codamundi. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hey, thanks for sharing. That's pretty awesome. Well, everybody, I thank you for showing up and for your stories. Yeah, Mary Jo? Yours muted.
I just said thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Blessings to everybody. Pat and Wanda, gonna wait a couple minutes?
Sure.
All right. Blessings, everybody. Take care. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Let's see. I'm gonna stop recording.